I'm so messed up mentally, I think, that when I visualize, it messes me up, man, because it gets me thinking I can't hit a golf ball to save my life. And I may have just striped the last 25 balls that I hit. Now, I don't know what that is. We don't need to get into it today. But that's a struggle of mine, is that I play better in real life than I do in my head. And I don't know how to fix that.
We're going to go, put your head on the pillow, lay down on the couch, and let's dive into this for a second.
I don't want to talk about my childhood. I don't want to talk about my fears, my dreams. I'm just saying, I just have a hard time hitting the ball well in my head.
We're going full tin cup now, right? With his girlfriend.
Yeah. If you're not one of our current, 12 followers and fans, welcome to the Best Golf Podcast Ever. I'm Garrett Lill with Mike Hendricks, TPI, certified body expert, Tony Rosselli, PGA super phenom instructor and teacher. So I have a topic that I think might cover the entire episode, but I'm going to let you guys talk about it too. So I have learned something since we last met. I guess the last time we talked was at the at Mike's gym when we did the TPI assessment. And I've learned something that, after 30 years playing this game, I thought I had the basics kind of understood, right? I knew I didn't know everything, but I thought I had the fundamentals. But I've learned something this week that is like, it's as revolutionary to my golf game as I imagine like the invention of the wheel was to mankind. It's just, it's totally changing everything.
I can't wait to hear this. You have my attention.
So I'll pose it as a question, first of all. So my understanding, I think, for 30 years was that you maintain a more or less straight spine, or at least try to maintain a straight spine throughout the golf swing. You address the ball, you get into your golf posture, and you put do the old drill where you put the golf club on the back of your spine and put the butt at your head and the club head at your butt bone, and you try to keep it pretty straight. And then you just rotate around that, right? As you rotate to the right, you look like you're in side bend to the left because you're on an incline. And then when you rotate back the other way, it looks like you're kind of to the right, but you're just rotating around a straight spine on an incline. We'll pose it as a question, although I already better know the answer. Is that true or false? Either one of you.
Tony.
Well, so... I mean, if you look at Jack Nicklaus, he had more of a rounded back, thoracic back. So lumbar lower, thoracic T top, right? And there's actually some new biomechanics stuff where we talk about the T spine and the L spine moving independently. So the T spine is very mobile. It can snake kind of like this. It can go this way. It can go this way, this and the other. The lumbar spine, we want to keep more stable. We don't run a lot of wiggling down there. It's just not meant for that. So in theory, right, again, if you have good control of your biomechanics, you have good control of your proprioceptors, as we've talked about, right? In the backswing, you should be able to move off the ball, and the downswing, you should be able to move forward to the ball slightly. That's where you get that sternum sway, stuff like that in your golf swing, that shift, that off. But most people, it all just moves together, one big thing, because they can't do this. It's easy to do in a chair. It's harder to do up in the real world without moving. But yeah, it's the shoulder rocking, right? The old shoulder rocking. But it gives that fluidity to the spine. So I don't know if that answers your question or not, but there's a little more nuance to it.
It ties into the question for sure. So, and I really don't know how to even, I've been thinking all day about this, how to frame this whole conversation, because I don't even remember exactly where it started. It partially started when we did the assessment last week. And, I really thought that a lot of my struggles in the game of golf were just that I'm fat and old and out of shape, and my body can't move the way it needs to swing the golf club correctly. But then we go do the TPI assessment last week, and we basically, the way I walked away understanding it is that I'm basically a physical phenom when it comes to golf. I'm built as athletically gifted as you can possibly be for the game of golf, far superior to Tony in every way, shape, or form.
And yet I can outdrive you, so there's that, and yet my ball speed is higher.
Yeah, that's concerning. So it's clearly, that was the beginning, I think, of the epiphany. It's like, okay, it's not a body thing. As Mike said, maybe it's a head thing. We knew that, but why am I struggling to get in the right positions here? So I've been working on my body movements around the house. My kids love it when I do C-spine, S-spine. That they loved it. It just freaks my older kids out to see me over there kind of basically dry humping the air.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been working on my balancing. And actually, the other day, I was really proud of this. My daughter timed me on the very first try, 15 seconds on the right leg with eyes closed balance, 24 seconds on the left, completely cold, just put my shoes on, did it. So I've been working on these things a little bit. But there was a video. Part of this process for me, I guess, was when I did the video on where I tried to keep the ball under 50 feet for YouTube. There was a point in that, I can't remember if I said it in the YouTube video or not. I may have edited it out, but there was a point where I just said, I'm just going to try to smother this ball, or I'm going to try to suffocate this ball. And whatever that meant, I had no idea what that meant. It was just an internal feeling to me. But that feels pretty good to me when I do that, but I don't know what that means. So I started to kind of dig into what is that. And I started realizing basically that C-spine, S-spine thing. Am I correct in understanding that if anything, in the backswing, you would go more S-spine, and in the downswing, you would go more C-spine? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. I'm the total opposite. Okay. So not only am I not doing that, I am maybe accidentally or not really realizing it, flexing my back going into C-spine in the backswing, but I am very intentionally trying to go S-spine in the downswing and have been working on this for years. And I'm pretty damn good at it because I've been working at doing it wrong for 15 years probably. And there was a video that I watched on Athletic Motion Golf months ago where they talk about the move you're talking about there. They call the cheerleader move, Tony, the swaying back and forth. Mm-hmm. And that video is more, it's focusing more on side bend than anything else. So I don't think I thought too much about it, but I went and dug it back out. Have you seen the video I'm talking about where they get into the movement of the spine in the golf swing?
Maybe. I don't know. I've seen a lot of their stuff. I haven't seen everything, obviously, but.
So this video, they use Rory specifically as an example. Usually they just talk about like tour averages, but they actually use Rory as a specific case study. So in Rory's backswing, he goes from like 23 degrees of flexion. So the spine moves, as y'all know, but for the viewers, listeners, the spine can rotate in this, just around its axis. It can bend side to side and it can flex front to back. So in Rory's swing, he goes from like 23 degrees of forward bend or flexion at address to like 30 degrees of extension at the top. But from the top of his backswing to like halfway down in his downswing, just that very little move from the top, he goes from 30 degrees of extension to like 43 degrees of flexion. So he moves like 70 degrees in flexion from the top to halfway down. And I tried this at one point when I first saw that video. I was like, this feels weird. I'm not doing this anymore. But when I started to dig into it a little bit more this week, what I'm doing is the opposite. I extend my back into impact. And as I started to kind of experiment with what would this feel like if I tried to do this flexion thing that they're talking about in the downswing.
Yeah.
It fixes every single, I'm not saying it fixes everything, but everything that I'm working on my golf swing is tied to me doing the opposite of that. I have to try to work on getting really vertical with my arms because I'm getting flat with my body. And then on the way back down, I have to, get more vertical on the way back down with my arms because I'm still flat with the body. So as I've tried to work on this, extend back and then flex back down, number one, it's helping to correct a lot of my swing issues. But number two, it's unlocking a big power. Your back's one of your strongest muscles, and I've been using it against me. I've been flexing it when I should extend it and vice versa.
Uh-oh.
So what's up?
Uh-oh, he thinks he can catch me now.
Yep. This morning, I've hit 170.
I'm teeing it up. Let's see. I hit 170.
Yeah,
there
I'm coming for you. I'm coming for you. Well, and not only that, but it's also giving me a better, it's really hard to demonstrate this when this is something I want to do some video with you on this, Tony, but it's helping my attack angle and my angle of attack coming into the ball. It's helping me to maintain lag a little bit longer in the swing. There's a lot of other good side effects that are coming from it. But the bad thing is I'm spraying it all over the freaking planet because I'm not used to it. So I'm having to, I always say it like this, like you got to learn how to do the right things, but then your hands have to relearn how to find the golf ball from the correct positions, right? Because they're used to kind of finding it from the wrong spot. So, but no, I hit balls yesterday, 2 days ago, yesterday, and today, and I've been in the 114, 116 range on the speed, the swing speed, and ball speed's been today. My low ball out of like 15 with the driver was 165, so I was 165 to 170. So knocking the crap out of it. There's some other things we can kind of talk about a little bit later too about how that's kind of messing up my ball flight a little bit, but no, that was I did not realize that was. So I guess is that something that every good player does? Does every good player extend their back in the backswing and flex it in the downswing, or is that unique to Rory and certain players and certain body types? Or this is mind blowing to me. This is completely thrown me upside down. I didn't.
Yeah. Well, hearing you talk, so I guess two things that come to mind is it's really cool that we went through the assessment, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
otherwise, I wouldn't have known what a phenom I was. I mean, that was a big confidence booster.
So yeah, we did the assessment, and so what came out of it was that Garrett scored really well, and there wasn't a lot of limitations with him physically, and so I made that offhanded comment that, well, I think then some of it might be above, between the ears, but I had no idea. And the other thing was, this is a great time of the year to start digging into this, right? Because we're getting into that quote unquote off season. And we talked about that a couple episodes ago. So to me, this is the perfect time. It was a great time that we did it. And now you can kind of play around with it, because people don't want to struggle, right? Like they don't necessarily want to do the lesson. They don't want to see themselves on film, or they don't want to start moving better, but necessarily because it's going to affect how you strike the ball, right? You're doing things different in your swing that's affecting how you're striking the ball, which now, the ball is going all over the place. But if you can trust the process, and Tony can speak to that, is knowing that what you just said about your spine angle in the backswing, the extension and flexion, man, that is going to be huge for you. And I can just hear the excitement in your voice. You're so excited because that is a big thing, unlocking your pelvis. It's great for long-term health, getting you in the right body position in the backswing and follow through. So anyway, I'm excited and to see where it goes from here.
Well, and on that, I mean, I'd been playing around with a few different things this week, and today was the first day that I really committed to, okay, I'm going to work on this and see what it looks like, because I've been just kind of just toying around with a few different things. But I got through this morning, and to the point that you just kind of made, Edgar at Sully's came over. He was talking to me as I was kind of getting my stuff out. And my very first swing, I said, I'll go ahead and tell you right now, I'm going to knock the crap out of this first ball. Just in a little lob wedge, nothing crazy. I said, I'm going to knock the crap out of this ball, and it's going to go 75 yards left. I knew it, because I knew everything that I've been doing in my golf swing has been working completely against this. And you can't I could sit here and rattle off 25 side effects that this move has caused, but you can't think about all 25 of them the first time. You got to get the big thing right first, right? So I had to make sure I, work on the spine, but know that it's going to start left and then hook. And I knew that. And I was dead on. The very first ball I hit with just a nice, smooth, just controlled lob wedge went 92 yards, and it went with a launch angle of like 25, which I'm usually fighting to keep it below 30. And it was about, no joke, about 25 yards left. I mean, it was just dead left. So I said, okay, well, that's good to know that, the hypothesis was correct. Now we start working it out. I wouldn't want to do that in July. You wouldn't want to try to take on this is going to be potentially a big change. I don't think it's going to take me months to rebuild the entire swing, but I'm going to have to learn how to adjust for this. But you wouldn't want to try to tackle that in season when you're playing a lot. Now is a great time to try to get into it. But yeah, you talk about my excitement. Yeah, I'm pretty pumped about it, because it's like, and it's also because we talk about effortless power and stuff, but the reason my golf swing felt so all out of whack was I was putting myself way out of position. Once you put yourself in the right positions, my range of motion changes with this now, because now since I'm moving my back the correct way, I don't have to lift my arms 6 inches, it feels like, to be in the correct position at the top. My back's already getting it there. So it's making the movement much simpler. It's just now I've got to turn off all the other bad crap that I was doing to fix it. So yeah, I was pretty pumped about it. Y'all want to talk? I told y'all I could go for 45 minutes about this, but it was just I don't know. I just have always been almost intentionally doing it the wrong way.
Well, like Tony said, when you're working on something, when you're working on something, then that frees you up to not necessarily be results oriented, because I'm process oriented, and good, bad, or indifferent, you want to hit the ball further, right? That's just, and 99% of the people that play this game want to hit the ball further, right? They want to get it under control, but they want to hit it farther. So this is exciting. I'm excited for you.
Well, and not just I want to hit it further, and I joke around all the time about that's the only thing that really matters to me. But the other side of that is, how far you're trying to hit it, being able to do it with less effort is equally helpful in your game, right? So being able to just kind of hop out of the car and grab a lob wedge and just kind of feel like I'm almost chipping it 90 yards down the fairway. You don't wear your body out as much. You can swing under control. You're not putting as much just wasted movement into the golf swing. So it's not always necessarily about hitting it. I mean, when me and Tony are playing, yes, it is about who hits it the farthest and the hardest mainly, but it's also about being able to move efficiently in the golf swing. So, Tony, I know you've got this time of year, are you getting to play at all? I know you've been busy as crap here lately. Are you able to play, practice, do anything golf related? Or
I played on Saturday with a new group. I wasn't able to get into my normal Saturday group because they had early tee times, and I was giving a lesson at the golf course at 9, and the last tee time was going to be like 9:30, so I didn't have time to join with them. So I joined in with some other folks that I know through pickleball and played with them. Won money off everybody, so that was good. I got paired with a 76-year-old guy, and we were best ball, and I birded the first hole and had a few others, and we had a good time. But so this week I haven't touched a club. I haven't done anything. Been fighting a little nagging, getting older, stiff, sleeping funny injury. Just those stupid things where you're like, I didn't do anything weird. I just hurt, So, and then my lower back, I've been doing a lot of work outside on the lawn, overseeding and mowing and working on my car. Yeah, working on my car in odd angles and stuff. So my back is tweaked. But no, so this time of year right now I've got advising going on, and then the regular semester stuff. So pretty much during the week, and then daylight savings is about to end. So I probably only get to play on the weekends, or if I can sneak out on a Monday early once or twice. But but what I was going to say, what I could transition to talking into is, we talk about process, we talk about practice, but I was talking with my sports psych class this morning about the power of visualization. And so like when you had hurt your wrist, right, you couldn't really hit golf balls there for a while because your wrist was hurt. Visualization is something that elite level competitors and athletes and anybody who does something at a high level, they really tap into, and they use it when they're hurt too, because it allows them to continue to practice in their brain, because the neural pathways are all the same. Whether you're physically doing it or you're mentally doing it in your head, it's still, the brain is working. And at the end of the day, the brain is what tells our body what to do, right? Without your brain, you're just going to lay there. So with you, right? I mean, you're not doing anything. You're going to sleep. You don't move, right? And when you do twitch in the middle of the night, it's because you're having a dream that's so vivid that your brain tells your body to do something. But anyway, I was going to say with you is, even if you're not able to hit golf balls, I know you're still thinking about this move you're making. You're sitting there in the house doing stuff to try and figure it out, right? That's a very valuable form of practice that people overlook. They just think, no, I just got to do. But Jack Nicklaus' famous quote, right? He said, like, I never hit a shot until I have a very clear mental picture of exactly how I want it to go. Only once I have that clear image in my head do I actually step into the shot and actually hit the shot. I gave examples. If you haven't seen the Arnold Schwarzenegger 3-part documentary on Netflix, and then there's a 1-part Sylvester Stallone, it's good, right? Well, what does he
Okay.
talk about? What does he talk about? He talks about having a vision. And as soon as he could see something, he knew he could do it. Like he saw it. He saw the physique, Reg Park and Hercules right back in the day, and that became his vision, what he wanted to accomplish for himself.
Yeah.
And once you have the vision, you can develop the plan that gets you to the vision, gets you to the goal. You know, they call them concentration curls for a reason in the gym, because they're literally concentrating on that peak, and they're trying to see that peak of the bicep, how they want it to look. Sylvester Stallone talked about the same thing. He said, once I had a vision in my head, I was able to go, and I would just sit there and focus on my vision. What is my goal? What is my goal? What do I try to accomplish? What do I want to look like? What do I want to achieve? It's just fascinating how you'll see this across all athletes. Wayne Rooney, Michael Phelps, Serena Williams, they talk about the power of the brain to perform something. Once they can see it in their mind's eye, then their body has a plan of action. So don't sleep on the visualization and the mental practice for people as well. You don't have to always physically do something in order to get the benefit. And then as we get older, overuse injuries, our bodies get stiff. There are still ways to prepare mentally, to practice mentally, that don't overstress and overtax your body. When I played that 4 Club championship and I won it, right? I never had a shot that I hadn't already practiced in my head, because I was able to use the course imaging to plan out the round beforehand. I knew exactly what shot I was going to hit. And then I'd get to the tee box, and some of the people in my group were like, shoot, I didn't plan for this one. I don't have the right club, or I don't know how to hit this shot. And I was like, I already got it. I know exactly what I'm doing. I've already practiced it in my mind, so you're not surprised.
So expand into that. Talk a little bit more of that. Yeah, back it up a little bit. Dig into that a little bit more.
With the course management and the preparation?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
and maybe before you do that, let me elaborate maybe on this, what I would like to hear you dig into is, when you say visualization, are you envisioning, is it an out of body visualization or an in body visualization? Are you envisioning, I'm looking at the golf ball and now this is what the shot's going to look like, or are you imagining what you would look like from a third person objective,
third party perspective. Yeah. So there's both. And that's called internal versus external imagery, right? So internal is through your eyes, as you just said. External is as if someone's filming you and you're watching it. And we know both are valuable, right? Some people say, oh, I feel like my students all the time. They're like, I'm like, take a backswing to shoulder height. Whoop.
Yeah.
And you're like, not even close. And they're like, what are you talking about? And then you show them a video, and now they have something to look at and correlate. Oh crap, I thought I was to here, right? So that's a very valuable form of it as well, is the external imagery. But then the internal imagery is also important, right? So seeing something through your own eyes, as if you had a GoPro on a hat and you're filming your daily life, you're filming the shots or whatever. They both have their place. I was talking with some of my students in class today. One of them is still a high-level competitive hockey player, and he was talking about, he's a goal saver. He's a goalie, and he was talking about how his coach before every game would have the goalies literally sit there, and they would just go into a room and meditate over the types of shots they were going to be fielding during a game, right? What angles would this team try to come at them from? Do they have a weak side? Do we know that Sidney Crosby always comes and shoots from the left? 75% of the time he's coming right. So I might hedge my mental practice. I might hedge my visualization to that because I know my opponent or whatever. So all that to say, what I was saying was, with the course strategy and preparation, that's another way of visualizing without actually having to hit a golf ball and actually having to practice physically anything to get better at the game of golf, right? Because again, I know my 7-wood goes a certain distance when I hit it off the tee. Then I go and put my ball there on the golf course, and I figure how much yardage I have left into the green from there. Okay. 9 times out of 10, it was going to be close to this yardage. So I'm going to choose the 8-iron, because that at least gets me to the front of the green. And then again, when I get up to the par 3 tee box and I got an 8-iron, I've already mentally said and committed in practice, this is what I'm doing. I can't get it to the back of the green if it's a back flap. I've already committed to just getting it to the front edge and 2-putting from there, right? So then the other part about it is, once you develop these mental practice routines or this mental visualization, when you come into a situation, you're not underprepared. You've already expected this to happen. You've already trained your brain. How am I going to handle this, right? Perfect example is when I was in the club championship a few weeks ago, and I got that bad lie where my ball's in between tree roots. Okay. My eyes saw a very small possibility of, well, if I just pick this just right, I might could get it 150 yards. There's Garrett. Look at him. I knew that would psych him up, right? But I had thought about scenarios in my head of like, no, if I get in this situation, I just need to take my medicine and punch out and not damage my clubs, damage my body. But had I not at least thought about it, my instinct might have said, hit it, go for it, just try it. But because I had already gone through that process in my head of, if you get into XYZ type of scenario, this is the path, this is the plan, right?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
So this is very difficult for people. Like I've tried to meditate, use like a 5-minute meditation app, and it's so hard to like, oh God, how much more time am I going to be box breathing? So when I'm hearing you talk, I'm like, people don't even like to warm up. So doing something that people like hate more than warm up is doing mental prep. So practically speaking, like, what does that look like? Is that something you're in the car doing? Is that something that while your buddy is taking a shot, you're doing it? Like, practically speaking, what does that look like? When do you do it? How do you recommend when you're teaching your students that are like Garrett, who is on Adderall? Get someone on Adderall to do mental preparation. And
you notice how quiet I got, by the way, when he starts talking about mental stuff.
First person and third person visualization.
Well,
so here's the thing. Go ahead, Garrett. I'll touch on this in a minute.
See, I don't even know if I want to say what I'm thinking right now, because I actually answer it first, because what I'm going to say might be its own thing. I may decide I don't want to say it.
Yeah. So one, again, we look at what the best of the best have done. And I guarantee you go and you start looking, just do a basic Google search on elite athletes, elite performers' use of visualization. You will see 9 times out of 10, they've been doing something. Wayne Rooney talks about he would lay in bed before games since he was a kid, visualizing the shots he was going to take, visualizing the ball going in the goal, visualizing what it felt like to win, right? Like, there's obviously, like, success leaves clues, right?
Yeah.
You look at, people who've been successful in business and like, I just saw myself at the top and I figured out a way to get there. But that was my focus, was what I was trying to accomplish. Now, big picture, holistically, our society, why is this getting harder and harder? It's the freaking cell phone, right? Because we're uncomfortable being bored. We're uncomfortable being in our thoughts. We're uncomfortable being in silence. It's like, it's so easy just to be distracted or to find something else to do with work or to find something else to do with, communication, connection, whatever. So I think a good daily practice, Mike, as you said, was not necessarily meditating, but just getting used to being bored, just getting used to sitting there without a phone or any device and just being uncomfortable, getting used to it. There was a study done where they put people in a room with nothing. There's nothing, no magazines, no nothing. And they told them, you need to be in this room for 15 minutes with nothing to do. And there's a button in the room that if you push it, will give you a very painful electric shock. You know what the sad thing is? A crap ton of people would rather push that button and shock themselves than be alone with their thoughts for 15 minutes. You know what I mean? So I think it's indicative of a bigger issue we have in society with technology and just not being okay in our thoughts. But look at all the creative people in the past, the Da Vinci's, the great artisans of old. They didn't have technology distracting them. They were in their heads. And that's where creativity comes, is when you are still and silent and have the ability to think. That's where ideas come from.
I don't know. I can't remember if I was talking to one of y'all about this I was talking to somebody about that a few months ago. One of my kids was complaining about being bored. And, it's like I was the worst dad in the history of forever because they had to be bored for 5 minutes or something, right? And I just got on one of my, like, back in my day, kind of soapboxes where it's like, you know what? Being bored is not a bad thing. Being bored is something that honest to goodness, I love going to my parents. And every time I go to my parents, sometimes my son, he loves to go up there too, but he came out one day, I was sitting on the porch and he's like, I'm kind of bored. I said, me too. That's my favorite thing about Nin's house. I love coming up here because I can be bored. And there's something about being bored. It lets your brain think about stuff that you don't have time to think about when you're busy.
That's right.
And you talk about society, and this is not a society podcast, but I mean, we're never bored anymore because we always find something to do to keep us from being bored. And I think it makes us stupid. I mean, it really does. It locks up or restricts what we can do. Now, on the visualization thing, though, I hate to admit this probably, although it's probably very revealing. I can remember specifically one time when I was probably 12, 13 years old, and I was going to a golf tournament. Mom's driving the car, and I'm sitting in the car, and I was doing this. I'm envisioning everything I'm going to do for that day. And I'm going to tell you, I got the biggest case of the hooks in that vision, and I was a fader of the golf ball. But for whatever reason, I've been kind of drawing the ball. And as I'm visualizing it, I mean, I could not make a par to save my life in my own head on the way to this golf tournament. Like, and so for me personally, I find it, I'm so messed up mentally, I think, that when I visualize, it messes me up, man, because it gets me thinking I can't hit a golf ball to save my life. And I may have just striped the last 25 balls that I hit, but in my head, I can't. And it's not just that one time when I was 12 years old. I can sit here, riding to Riverwood to meet you to play. I can be riding up to Eagle Ridge, whatever. And in my mind, I mean, yeah, I know that I've just hit 100 balls at Sully's the day before and barely hit a single shot. And, but on the first hole, all I can see is snap hooking it out of bounds or topping it or whatever. Now, I don't know what that is. We don't need to get into it today, but that's a struggle of mine, is that I play better in real life than I do in my head. And I don't know how to fix that.
That's interesting.
That's interesting. A problem. It's a hell of a conundrum to be in, but it's hard for me to hit good shots when I'm imagining them.
So let me ask you this. We're gonna go. Put your head on the pillow, lay down on the couch, and let's deep dive into this for a second.
I don't want to talk about my childhood. I don't want to talk about my fears or my dreams. I'm just saying, I just have a hard time hitting the ball well in my head.
We're going full tin cup now, right? With his girlfriend. Yeah. But like, kids do this, right? How many of us, when we were kids, we envisioned 3, 2, 1 in your bedroom, and you're shooting the game-winning 3-pointer, or you're, draining the 15-footer to win the Masters. Like, again, all of the elite athletes do this, whether they intend to or it's subconscious. They see success in their head. They don't see failure, right? They see themselves performing the way they want to perform. They see themselves doing well. And to a point of this, there's studies out there that will show you'll take a control group where you do no practice. You have a physical only practice shooting free throws or something like that. And then you have like a mental only focus where all you see is swish, 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 swish. You go through your routine, your pre-shot spin, dribble, spin, deep breath, whoosh, swish. And all you see is success, right? And then they compare the groups afterwards. And majority of the time, there's little to no difference between the physical only practice and the mental only practice. Because again, in your head, you have the opportunity to control the outcome. You have the opportunity to control what you see, what your body experiences, right? So obviously, Garrett's got some situations going on in his head we got to figure out. But it's a fascinating field of study. It's a fascinating field of exploration and study as far as like potential, right? What do we have the potential to do? And we've talked about some podcasts before where, like, for whatever reason, sometimes you see that 10-foot putt and you just know it's going in. Something in your brain visualizes and sees everything just right. And it's like predestined at that point. You just know it's going in. And I wish we could figure out a way to tap into. I think visualization is a part of it, practicing the visualization. Remember Jason Day, before he'd go and hit a shot for like 5 straight years, he's sitting there, he's just like closing his eyes, and he's visualizing so deeply, so vividly, you can see his eyelids fluttering. You remember that? Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until he could taste the shot that he walked into it. Right. And I think why this is so important is because it's like directions. If you don't have a vision or an idea of where you're trying to go, you're just driving aimlessly. Okay. I played golf when I was back in college with one of the ladies who was on the Texas A&M University women's golf team. And so, Mike, you asked, what does this look like in real example or whatever? Yeah. So she'd be back there behind, the tee box, and she's looking at a par 3. And I can see her, like she's just going through her head of how this ball's going to fly, where it's going to start. And then her body starts to flow and mimic the visualization. So she sits there with her left hand and she's like, and then she starts leaning this way and she's like this. And I saw this about 4 or 5 tee shots in a row. I was like, what are you doing? And she was like, oh, I'm visualizing the shot. And then my body is forming around the picture I see. And I was like, that's pretty dang cool, right? And sure enough, she hit it and then high draw, whatever. But if without that visual intention, that visual picture, how do you recreate it? When a painter is painting a canvas, they are visualizing what it is they're trying to paint, and then they paint over it. The sculptors of old, they had a stone tablet or a piece of wood. All they're doing is seeing in front of them, and they're carving away the extra that doesn't need to be there, right? So again, it's just a very powerful thing that I think the best of the best have the ability to tap into. Shadow boxing. What is shadow boxing? They are physically seeing an opponent across from them, and they're saving their body from getting punched in the freaking head over and over with a sparring partner, but they're still right. They're seeing it, and then they're reacting to it. It's a thing as old as time, because it's imagination, right? It's a visual representation of what we need to accomplish in our mind's eye. The people talk about mind's eye, right? That what do you see in your mind's eye? I don't know. Anyway, I know that got real professory and sciencey. I just wanted to share because it's something that I think, especially as we get older, we should do a better job of saving our bodies from the repetitive stress and figure out other ways to get better at the game.
Love it.
I think Garrett's kids just got off.
Garrett's processing.
Garrett's in dad mode right now.
Yeah, I am I'm processing a lot here. So, two things. So you mentioned shadow boxing, or it's not two things, it's one thing. Sorry, not Adderall. Shadow boxing. If I have to sit on my couch and just close my eyes and envision me hitting a good golf shot, I suck. I can't break 100 if I close my eyes and just have to envision a golf shot. If I can get up off my couch and go stand in the middle of my living room floor, put my hands, and it's funny, when I do this, I have to interlock my grip. I actually have an overlap grip, but when I do this, I interlock for some reason. And I am ashamed to say at 40 years old, how many times a week I still do that. I have to close my blinds. Seriously, no joke. I close my blinds in my living room so my neighbors don't see me swing a golf club in my living room with no club. I take make-believe swings by myself all the time.
That's visualization.
Have never mishit one that way. So if I can actually physically move as part of my visualization, that's different. But if I have to just focus entirely in the brain, I can't hit a golf shot to save my life. But once I can swing it, even without a club, then I'm fine.
Yeah.
I even go so far. This is the most embarrassing. Maybe I don't know if I really want to publish this episode, honestly, but I'll even go so bad. I make a whack sound when I hit at the impact. I always make that sound. I struggle to make the driver sound, but I can make the iron sound fantastic.
Well, like, have you ever seen like behind the scenes footage of like a band, your favorite band, and before they come out to the tunnel to go out to stage, you see the drummer and he's sitting there with his sticks and he's just, he's going through the motions, and the guitar player's sitting there and they're doing their chords or whatever, their solo. That's visualization, right? Yeah. All that visualization is the process of mentally rehearsing, performing something without physically having to do it. That's all it is. And again, I promise you, the more you watch, the more you study this, the more you look into it, the best of the best, they have a very clear mental picture of what they're trying to accomplish. It's just one of those things. Like, you'll play golf sometimes and you're like, you just see the shot. You see the tee shot, you know exactly where you want to hit it. It's easy, it's flowing, bang, you do it. And there's some days where you're like, I'm just cloudy. I can't see what it is I'm trying to do. I can't see the shot. I can't feel it. You'll hear the pros talking about that. Like, I don't know what it was today. I just couldn't see it. Something was clouding. Something was overtaking the matrix or clouding the matrix, right? They couldn't just see it. So it's really fascinating. But there's also tech now that we can use to hack the system a little bit, right? If you struggle with the VR. So I used to tell people, remember the old PGA or Tiger Woods PGA Tour games where they had the putt line that you could see the putt preview, right? So some people struggle with seeing that in real life. So what I do for myself, because I struggle seeing it in real life, is like I've told you before, I take my fingers back from the hole and I curve, I trace the path, and then I walk into that picture. I mean, Tiger Woods, what did he say? He said he putted to a picture. That's how important visualization was to him. He's sitting there looking at the putt, reading and everything, and then when he goes back to the ball, he's got the picture in his head, and he's just putting to the picture. You've got all kinds of tech now, wearable with Oculus and all kinds of things. PuttView has goggles where you can see the line of the putt. Google on YouTube, look up Peter Finch using PuttView, and he shows you. I got to experience these at the PGA show one time. But that's a way to help speed up the process for people who struggle with visualization. There's modern technology, things of that nature. But yeah, I mean, if you don't rehearse, How does a band get better if they don't rehearse? That's physical
I like
practice.
that
But what do you
word.
do when you can't? Yeah, what do you do when you can't rehearse physically? This is the untapped domain right here.
That's what Garrett's doing. He's rehearsing in the living
Mhm.
room. So it's cool that it's just coming up with different names. Some people may not like visualization, the term visualization or meditation.
Mental practice.
But it's just fun.
Mhm.
Yeah, just finding another word for it. And it'd just be interesting. I think we all do it. We just don't know we're doing it.
Mhm.
So that could be a nice little challenge for the listener is like, am I visualizing, catching yourself visualizing when you're not even know you're doing it?
Yeah, it's not
Well,
just
see, I didn't
daydreaming.
know, like,
And especially as we
Just
go into the winter
enhance that
months.
a little bit.
Yeah, as we go into the winter months where you can't physically practice because the daylight ends. If you don't have a Sully's, you don't have a simulator in a garage or whatever, what else are you gonna do? You're just gonna waste that time? No, you can practice. You can go through the motions. You can rehearse. You can train. You can whatever you want to call it, mental training, whatever you want to call it, right? To get out of the mindset of I can't do this. Whatever you got to do, there's benefits to it.
yeah, and it's also, I mean, it's a good time to rehearse your pre-shot routine. It's a good time to rehearse, when I'm standing there trying to hit shots in the living room or whatever I joke about, not every single one of them is a full speed driver. Sometimes it's a 3/4 7-iron with a 10-yard cut, or it might be a stinger with a 10-yard draw, or, little flop shots, whatever. But there's, that's why I was asking the question, does that count as visualization, or does it have to be totally in your head? Because I do that all the time. I love doing that. I don't know how many green jackets I've won in my living room. I've won a bunch of them. But
no, to me, visualization is just practicing in the absence of the physical space. Right. So it's practicing if you're not actually hitting a golf ball. It's anything that you do to work on getting better at something. Right. So, when you're sitting there, like people with no golf club, if they're sitting there and they're working on a halfway back, halfway through, they're working on proprioception, they still have to visualize an action. They still have to visualize something so their brain can process and commit to something. That's visualization. You are, whether you are imagining, I'm looking at myself from a third party perspective, how big of a swing I'm making, or you imagine after I do this, how the ball is going to fly, how the putt's going to roll. That all counts. And everybody has different ways of doing it. Some ways work best for some ways work best for others. But the whole point is, how do we get better when we can't physically do something?
Yeah.
It's not wasted time,
Yeah. Switching gears to a physical question, because I think I'm mentally taxed now. That's enough Freudian stuff today. You're going to see my information overload kicking here pretty soon. But another physical question there. So as I've going back to the spine thing, what I've found with that is it kind of unlocked my range of motion a lot. I've kind of been using my spine, that it's been restricting my movement a lot. Now that I'm doing that correctly, a 3/4 backswing to me is past parallel. Like in my mind, I feel like I'm past parallel with even barely moving the club. And I'm not seriously, I would joke about me being a physical phenom from the TPI assessment or whatever. But when you look at your range of motion, if you're making a correct golf swing, does anybody on the planet have the range of motion to make a good golf swing that goes past parallel? Or are the best players and the more flexible players, they have the ability to go past parallel, they just stop it there? Or, John Daly's swing, was John Daly just that flexible, or did he just did he have a swing flaw that caused him to go so far past parallel or whatever? You know what I mean? Like,
John Daly, Fred Couples, yeah, there's a few examples for sure of long.
Nicholson goes a little past parallel, or he used to at least. He was kind of long, and I don't feel like I'm swinging. My backswing right now is a touch past parallel pretty comfortably, and I don't feel out of control. I'm fine hitting it that way. But if I stop it at parallel, to me, I don't necessarily hit it any shorter when I stop at parallel. So I'm sitting there thinking, okay, that extra motion from top of the backswing to where it should be is just an added motion that I don't necessarily need. The fact that it's comfortable to me and I have the range of motion to get it there doesn't change the fact that it's still longer than it should be. Or, and this is kind of hard to demonstrate. We're sitting here talking. There's plenty of things that I could do to shorten the backswing that aren't keeping my right arm straighter. That's going to make the golf swing appear shorter, or, stop at shorter parallel or at parallel, but it's increasing my arc. So, are there players out there that are Why do we stop at parallel? Might be the question. Like, do we stop at parallel because that's as far as we can go, or that's where somebody said that you should stop it? Is there any geometric reason to stop at parallel other than that's just where we run out of room? And do you necessarily need to stretch the rubber band as tight as you possibly can to get the most out of it? I have a history. I have a record for the longest questions in the history of ever. That's the end of my question. You can answer now.
Yeah, so if you look at mechanical systems, right, the more degrees of freedom you have, the less accurate it's going to be overall, less consistent. So I think, you start off with the shortest possible motion, a 1 foot putt. There's a reason why that goes in the hole 99.99% of the time, right? It's a very small motion, very small degree of error. The farther you go, again, all things being equal, the more time a small error has to become a big error, right?
Mhm.
If I start a ball 1 degree offline, in 10 feet, it only goes so far offline, but in 1,000 feet, it's super far offline. So
Yeah.
I think, you need it's that balance of, I need enough motion to get power and distance out of the shot, but not so much that I start to sacrifice that accuracy. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. But from a power and efficiency, it's not just all about how far you're hitting it. But to me, there seems to be like a law of diminishing returns at some point. They're like, I have to get the club back to at least arm parallel back to get any power. If I'm just hitting a little chip shot, it's not going to go anywhere. Once I get it to about shoulder height on the way back, that's probably 3/4 of the backswing and 95% of my power. Once I get to the club parallel, that's 95% of my flexibility and 99.99% of my power, right? So there just becomes this diminishing return that you get. But I
Correct,
almost,
yes.
maybe a different way to phrase the question is, does there come a tipping point where now you've gone past the optimal, you're not even getting any more distance past this point. It's actually hurting you because for some people it is.
Yeah, your efficiency of strike is not going to be as good. You're going to miss the center more often. But if you look, and I could be totally wrong about this, but if you look at, for example, John Daly and Fred Couples, both of them, if I remember in my mind's eye, had flying right elbows. So that's
Right,
where that
which will
extra
get you way
distance
past.
was coming from. Yeah, that's that extra range of motion in this very fluid ball and socket joint was where the extra range of motion was coming from, not from more shoulder turn, not for whatever. We stop here and then it kept going. Yeah, you could do this as far as you want, but then it's got to connect and then it's got to go back around. So yeah, I do think
when you do that, you might gain a tiny little bit of power, but to me, the flying elbow, it makes the golf swing appear to be longer, but all you're really doing is adding an unnecessary and inefficient movement to the swing. It's not even necessarily adding that much speed, is it? It's just giving your body something else to undo on the way down. Or is that is that a power source?
But again, all things considered, right? The farther the club has away from the ball, the more time it has to generate speed. That's why a guy who's 6'7", if he takes it back to parallel, he's going to be faster, all things considered, if he did nothing but use gravity, than a guy who's 5'3", right? It's just time, right? Longer levers. Yeah. So I think there's definitely something. But yeah, the whole point of diminishing returns, I think there's a reason why swings have gotten shorter and shorter and shorter over the years, more compact, more efficient, less margin of error, less things to have time to go offline. But yeah, no, physically, there's only so far, unless you're a freak of nature, that you can rotate. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then the rest comes from the fluid joints, the ball and sockets.
Because on the other side of that spectrum, you've got Jon Rahm, right? Knocks the total hell out of the ball, and he's nowhere close to parallel. So does he not go to parallel because he doesn't have the range of motion to get there, or does he not go to parallel because he's found that's as far as he needs to go to max out his power?
Well, first is his ankle, that club foot thing. He is restricted physically, but two, the boy's just thick. He's got them thick forearms and thick legs. He can hit the ball a mile from waist high to waist high. It's just how he's going to be able to do it. He's just a big old boy. Has the ability to generate speed and power from anywhere. He's got mass on his side.
Yeah.
You could hit something really hard with a really small object moving really fast, or you could hit something really hard with a big object moving really slow. They're both going to cause damage.
Yeah. So Mike, got to get back in the gym. I want to make that a regular thing. I want to get into the gym once, I don't know, couple times a month, whatever we got time to do. And now we've identified I need to work on my ankle mobility and my balance. And well, other than that, I'm pretty much perfect. But then you need to show me how to do that and actually stay on top of it.
Yeah.
So
ground up. We'll work from the ground up. That's good stuff.
that's right. Yeah. The balancing thing was that's been a fun little game to play with my daughter. My daughter has got incredible balance and incredible flexibility. So I am struggling and fighting as hard as I can to go 15 seconds. She literally could read a book and stand on one leg for a weekend if she had to. It's
a nice thing about being young.
Yeah, no joke. Well, I don't know how we are on time. I think we're around an hour. Y'all have anything else y'all want to talk about while we're here? I feel like I didn't quite derail the whole conversation as bad as I thought I would with the back thing. I plugged myself after about 15 minutes, but y'all got anything going on?
It's funny what you guys were saying. I think we were talking about being bored is what you were saying, Garrett. I was camping over the weekend and I was like, I'm going to unplug. I'm not going to pay attention to my phone. And then I get to the campsite and I just hear all this outside noise from other campers. And I'm like, I need some music. I just need something. But no, it's great. I was bored this weekend. I just like camping is putting up a tent, making shelter, making fire, sat in a boat a little bit and sat in a hammock. And that was my weekend, just being bored and loving it.
Guys, for the kids.
Well, and I was thinking about this too. I was like, how many great games, sports, activities, backyard games do we have because some college kids got bored one day? Right? Like, and then they were just like, hey, let's find something fun to do, and it's like sparks of genius happen out of boredom. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. I really do. I mean, it's like, I don't know, like anything in life, like, yes, you need to work out, but then you also have to have recovery time from it also, right? Your brain's kind of the same way. It needs some time to unplug a little bit too, to recharge itself. And, it's, I don't know, maybe it's just because I'm old and busy or whatever, but dude, I love being bored. Being bored is one of the best blessings in life. I love it when you get a chance to do that. Mm-hmm. And I think it's an important part of, whether it's whatever you're doing, meditation, visualization, watching TV, anything. Sometimes you got to do that. So agree with that 100%. Well, I think that's all we got for this one. If you have made it through this far, consider liking the video. That would definitely help to feed the YouTube powers that be to put us out there to more people. Subscribe to the channel, follow us if you're listening, follow whatever it's called on your platform. Send us comments. I enjoy the comments. I do prefer it if you only send positive feedback. I don't need negative. You can if you like, but I'll just give you like a thumbs up response or something. But let us know what we should talk about so we're not just coming here winging it sometimes. We'll maybe make a special podcast episode for you if you'll tell us what to talk about. And I'm going to get back to perfecting my newfound power move in my back.
I think we need a demonstration before you go. I think you need to stand up and demonstrate before you go.
Are we going to try to do some recording tomorrow? Or at least a few
of the cat cows or the S spine, C spine.
We've already got that on video. We already did that one on video. We're not doing that anymore. I really do. I have a good time with that with the kids because I'm like, watch this new thing I've been working on for my golf swing, and they watch me, and their eyes get like this big. They're like, no, stop doing that. Stop doing that. Yep. I was like, what's wrong? It's just S spine, C spine. It's just hip mobility, pelvic mobility. What are you talking about? But anyway, love to torture them. I think that's all we got. So thank y'all for your time always. And if you listen to us, thanks for watching. See y'all later.
All right, boys.
Yeah, I think that's it. See y'all.
We might have just saved a lot of relationships with the S spine, C spine. Reignited some passion in the bedroom. You never know. That will not make the podcast.
I'm ready to proclaim right now that there's better than a 50% chance that I'll be on the PGA Tour at this time next year.
Yeah, I'm telling you, buddy.
When does the Adderall actually start kicking in?
Mine is actually worn off by now, so I'm not.
You don't say.